Hey guys, Harv here, and welcome to Space Tourism. I will be your host for the next 23.5 minutes or so, as we carry on building our system in the Jool system to get some tourists around and have them go on a very expensive holiday into the outer reaches of the Kerbal solar system. And your first thing I just want to say is that I didn't realise you could move around the map view like this. I mean the main menu screen. That's really cool. The Space Center scene, the Space Center main menu scene thing. And yes, this is the Space Tourism series, after the previous two episodes where I called it the Jool System series, because I hadn't quite decided on a name and I thought that sounded cool, but on reflection, Space Tourism is a much better, more descriptive name for it. So, we've got a number of things I want to do in today's video. I want to improve our launch stage, which was the Spacier launch stage. Now it's the Spacier launch stage Mark II, and as you can see, the additions are a slight bit more fuel on the first pair to be dropped, which has just gone, and 2 lots of 4 solid rocket boosters on the side. So it gives it that bit more thrust, that bit more longevity, that we can actually deliver now about 100 metric tons of payload into low Kerbal orbit, which is quite a feat, and it will definitely help us in the future when we're trying to transport more heavy modules, or just trying to transport more things possible to the Jool system. We are going to have a change of scenery in the next episode. This will be the last one for a very little while, very short amount of time, that we're going to be doing orbital maneuvers around Jool. Hopefully we're going to be building a Kerbal space station, maybe designing some SSTOs, maybe some boats. You know, we'll get on with the more creative side of things, rather than the simple infrastructure side of things. Because now we've got, or we will have, a space station around Jool, which is the point of this video. We'll be able to, supply any incoming traffic with fuel and RCS and electricity and whatever they might need. So from there, it's like the first stepping stone on the way to success with this series, already completed at the end of this video. But this is not a utility that's going into orbit. You may have looked at it and thought, that's loads of fuel, but it's got no engines or anything. How's it going to get all the way to Jool? This is simply a test. Exactly 100 metric tons of payload. Going to see if I can deliver it to orbit. Now, my launch wasn't quite perfect, and the apoapsis was a bit too high. I mean, technically 70 kilometers is about the lowest you can go, but if I pushed it up to 80, and as a result it used a bit more delta V than it would do at 70. So as you can see, or as you will very shortly see, we don't quite have the fuel to lift exactly 100 metric tons into orbit. It's technically in orbit, it just isn't in orbit above the atmosphere. 80 kilometers to 20 kilometers. So it's good enough for purposes, but the launch stage 2 actually can't lift 100 metric tons. Or at least it didn't on that launch. I'm sure, best case scenario, it probably can. But yeah, it's close enough. It's definitely an improvement over the previous one. So what 2 vehicles are we going to be sending to the Jool system today? I think in the previous episode I said we would send 3 today. This took like 2 hours to record this video, and I didn't want to send another one after that. Or specifically, I looked at it and I thought, this will probably take 2 hours. I don't want to make it any longer than that. So I didn't send 3 at the start. There will be days when we send 3, probably, maybe. But yeah, so this utility that we're building right now is simply a fuel reserve. Going to be able to be docked onto the end of our space station, and it's got electricity, it's got a lot of RCS, and quite a lot of fuel as well. And yeah, 3 atomic motors to get it out to Jool, or at least some of the way out to Jool, seeing as our launch stage will hopefully help us with a little bit of that. But there we go. We've pretty much built that, got some reaction wheels on there, which are basically the staple diet for any ship now. Reaction wheels, you've got to have them. Big ships are... I mean, we've dealt with big ships turning so slowly for ages, but now that they no longer have to turn so slowly, it makes everything so much better. And it's almost impossible to live without them. Also, word on this design, you may notice I've been using the whole 2 meter to several 1 meter connection thing quite a lot. I really like it. I do. You have a 2 meter connector to 3 lots of atomic motors, and then to attach them onto the stage below, which is also 2 meters in diameter, you put the couplers on the bottom of the engines and then flip the adapter over onto its back, and it works perfectly. It's really good. Well, it doesn't quite work perfectly. You sometimes get some explosions as the I think it's the decouplers don't like pushing away evenly. Like, if it was just one decoupler, it would have its own force and it would push away anything underneath it. But seeing as there's 3 of them, I think they kind of fire at slightly different timings and collide into each other, and yeah, they don't really like it. But it's good enough. It works. It definitely works. So we've got our fuel reserve equipped with RCS translating and translating ability, so it can definitely dock onto our station without any other need or any other aid. Next thing we're going to build, second out of 2, is going to be a cruise shuttle, I think. We want to make a cruise shuttle. We want to, you know, put people into the mix with this. Because, you know, it's all very public image. We're doing space tourism. We're going to be publicising everything along the way. This is what these videos are. It's just promotion for my actual space tourism industry. You know, I'm watching. I'm gaining hype and interest about the program. So people want results, and no, people want like publicity. They want shock and awe and thrill. Doing just probes, even though it would technically make sense, isn't necessarily the best way to go to generate that kind of hype. So we're going to put some men on our space station, and we're going to involve Kerbals in the project as much as possible, I think. Because hey, it's worth the cost of hiring them. And if anything happens to them, we'll say they died valiantly for their cause, which will probably generate even more hype, we hope. So yes, cruise shuttle. It's got some docking ports all around it in various different places. Some of the longified RCS tanks. That's not the correct word for them, but it's close enough. It describes it quite well, I thought. And yeah, all sorts of different utilities. No science equipment. I probably should have just put them on for the sake of it, but we've already got a probe out there with science equipment on it, so it's really not kind of necessary. Now we're going to warp, go to our Jool encounter. You're not going to see an awful lot of the Jool maneuver, because I think after this video, it's just like, you've watched me get things out to Jool in 3 episodes running. You know how the system works. If you haven't seen the other episodes, I strongly recommend it, because it's a series, hence things won't necessarily make sense unless you understand the information that's been provided previously. So yeah, you should go watch the other episodes and, watch my content. And subscribe. That's also a good thing to do. But yeah, so I'm not going to be showing much of the actual Jool transfer footage. We get into orbit, we launch, we burn, and bam, we're at Jool, because you know how it works. So this is the new launch stage in action, actually using a proper payload. We do the launch, we turn over, start burning to get into that orbit. Now this payload weighs 90 metric tons, something like that, so it definitely can get into orbit with the SLS too, and that is good and everything. I'm just trying to adjust my seat because my back is really aching from doing karate all day yesterday. Yes, karate, that's what I said. Yes, so that in orbit, that mission is in an orbit. That was the fuel reserve mission, which is in orbit waiting as the motorbike goes past outside, waiting for its opportunity to burn off that Jool transfer. This is the second of 2 launch, which is our cruise shuttle. And on board are the legendary Bill, Jeb and Bob Kerman. We're leading the way in pioneering the space tourism industry. So we're going to do the burn, get this thing up to its orbit using the Rockamax engine left over from the launch stage still. The cruise shuttle's really light, but it's got quite a lot of fuel capacity and certainly a lot of Delta V, which I really like about it. It should be the case. Originally I was thinking, maybe we can use the shuttle for more than just moving people. We can probably even use it to rescue the you know, the left behind resources that are in an ecliptic orbit around Jool. But on second thoughts, I'm not so sure about that. It's not really designed to be tucking things around, it's just designed to be able to if necessary. We'll probably send out some sort of space tug to do that job. You know, we've got a lot of funding for this project, don't worry about that. That's really not a concern. Concerns are being good on the public image. Using less cost, of course, will help that, but more things like, you know, less space litter and 210 Kerbals voted that this was the holiday they preferred. You could say something like, the Kerbals, 100% of Kerbals that use the space tourism industry, no, space tourism, what are we going to call ourselves? We need a name. We need a project name. Company name. It can't be space tourism. That's the name of the series, and it's not a very good catching name. Although then again, catchy names probably aren't worth all that much, seeing as Virgin Galactic's Spaceship 2. Like, really? Spaceship? You're just going to call it the Spaceship? Okay. Yeah, we need to think of a name. But 100% of the Kerbals who flew with us. Oh, we could be Vacuum Berlin. 100% of the Kerbals who flew with us rated this holiday far better than their previous one. And that's because no Kerbal has had a holiday in the history of the Kerbal universe in ever. So yeah, it's going to have to be better. So, we get our periapsis down, and this is exciting because this is called aerocapture. Not lithocapture or lithobraking. I'm not sure if this is entirely right, but litho means ground. So, aerocapture and aerobraking are done in the atmosphere, the aeroatmosphere. The lithobraking and lithocapture would be done on the ground, so bouncing across the ground or hitting the ground in order to slow down. That could be one of our premium offers in the tourism. I suppose there are some daredevil jebs out there who would like that, but you know, safety records wise, probably isn't going to look so good. But yeah, so the cruise shuttle completed its journey into the atmosphere of Jool, and it's going to have to burn retrograde a bit more now just to get that periapsis down to orbital height. And from then it's quite a few simple maneuvers just to actually rendezvous with the station, including changing inclination a lot. We've got to change the inclination of the station and the inclination of both of the ships that we're flying today. So yeah, there we go, burning so we don't end up back in Jool's atmosphere. And I was kind of going to go for a intercept straight away, but I don't think it's specified as. We should really change inclination first and get everything lined up on the same plane before we attempt to go too far. But there we go, and we can pretty much leave that there, I think. Swap over to the station. This is how it is so far. Nope, that's completely the wrong thing. That's some random debris that we're going to take off our nav by setting as debris. This is the space station so far, with a probe and with a thing, some rockets. 3 of them to be precise, and it's at a really eccentric angle compared to the equator of Jool. Now Laythe is orbiting around the equator. I really hope so, because that's what I've set my orbit to match, so hopefully it is. Why is it so important to be around the equator, you may ask? Well, it's just for the look of things mainly, and also if Laythe is around the equator, it's going to make it that bit more simpler to go to Laythe, because I imagine that would probably be the primary, the hotspot for tourism, the nodal point in the system, we might say. So there we go, we've burnt using the station to get it into a equatorial orbit. You may have thought, how's that working? It's got a probe on the side, it should be spinning out of control. Well, A, the thrust wasn't that large, and B, we have got 3 reaction wheels on the station, so they were able to counteract with the gimbaling of the engines themselves, was able to counteract the offset mass. But there we go, equalize that almost. It's like, oh, we did some spinning and that didn't help, but that's almost at the inclination we want. We just need to do a bit more burning to get it quite there. There we go. And now we've accidentally time warped in front of our target craft, so rendezvousing isn't going to be quite so simple. Swap back over to the other mission, which is progressing on its way to Jool, just time warping to get to that capture point, and there it goes. Now we're going to burn and describe the process of how this thing's going to aerobrake. So the problem was, you come around the opposite side. For some reason we just seem to come around the opposite side of Jool. I think it's because we don't really burn enough when we do our transfer burn. But there we go. Try and straighten out the inclination a little and bring the periapsis up to 110 kilometers. There we go. That seems to be the magic number. After doing a bit of testing in previous episodes of various different series. When was the last time I went to Jool and did that on video? It was a long time ago. A very long time ago. I actually don't remember. Which is one of the reasons why I'm really excited to be going back to Jool, because it's so fun. It's so many interesting characteristics to all its moons and everything. It is probably the most interesting system in the game. In fact, no, it is the most interesting system in the game. Apart from the solar system, which, you know, includes it, so that doesn't really count. With the Kerbal system. People say, like, oh, you spelled Kerbal wrong. No, Kerbal. Bol. It's the unofficial community name of the sun. Kerbol. I don't know why it's called that. I guess Sol is our sun. So, Bol, you know, Kerbal kind of makes sense. Back on the age, on the forums, when everything started with a K. I don't know, it could have been Kersol, but that sounds stupid. Much closer to Kerbal. It's Kerbal. Why am I rambling about this in particular? I really don't know. It might be leftover subconscious messaging from a solar space station thing. And I thought, no, space tourism, much better. Space tourism to the sun would be... I suppose it would be cool for the tourists. It would be a lot less interesting than this, though. Because you can't really, like, sail boats and fly atmospheric jets on the sun. Might be able to in the future, you never know. Could get some strong degenerate matter to do that job, very dense materials. But yeah, that's we can stop talking about stupid things like that. That is our everything lined up on the same plane, all our missions, in their various different orbits. Now what we want to do is try and get an encounter, or a very close approach, so that we can rendezvous. Do some burning, raise our periapsis up out of Jool. And what is the plan past Harvey? Well, future Harvey, or present Harvey, I'm really not quite sure, because I don't remember. Oh, it turns out we just so happened to get an intersect there. Isn't that lucky? Well, the problem is it's not particularly close, because, I mean, our inclination's kind of alright, but you've got to remember that even though the inclination says there's 0.0 degrees difference, that's just rounding to one decimal place. 0.01 degrees difference is probably quite a lot, thinking about the surface area of Jool and therefore how high its orbits really are. Because when we look on map view, if we were to imagine that Jool was the same size of Kerbal, an orbit this far out really isn't that much space to it in terms of spaceflight. But Jool is so much bigger, meaning that this orbit's actually a lot higher and therefore a lot harder to do than you'd imagine. Now look, the engines have run out. What are we going to do? Well, we have more fuel left in these tanks. In fact, we have a lot more fuel left in these tanks. Because we were only using the two center tanks on the engines, and whatever the engines themselves were actually carrying. We had 4 half 2 meter tanks around the edge, refueled with 2 of them, and we're ready to proceed. Look at all that fuel. We've got so much. We've got quite a bit of fuel now. So try this again after doing a bit more burning, and hopefully we can do some work on this. Now the problem is if we match orbits too much, it's going to take ages to come round, but there we go, get that in 1087.5 kilometers. There we go. A 7.5 kilometer orbit. That sounds good. Or rendezvous, you know. Closest approach. There we go. We can see its marker down there. We just need to do some burning in some different directions and we'll get in closer. Meanwhile, the other mission is on its way towards... actually no, the other mission is just in orbit around Jool, isn't it? Yeah. At a slightly wrong orbit to not really make it come anywhere close. Unfortunately, these nuclear engines are so weak that we end up shooting past it before we begin to sail back towards. Just trying to cancel out the relative velocity. Lateral velocity. We're still travelling towards it. There we go. Slow that down till there is no relative velocity whatsoever, and then we can point in the correct direction and switch to using RCS. Now the RCS jets are actually placed considering a centre of mass on a full fuel reserve system itself. The engines are actually docked to it, or they're not even docked, they're just kind of attached to the docking port awkwardly. But luckily, the fuel tanks being emptied means that the centre of mass moved backwards, actually, which isn't right. Okay, so the RCS jets are technically way off of centre, but doesn't really matter because they are strong enough, and we do have reaction wheels again to counter for that. We move this close, we get it in, and we get our docking straight away. Do love those docking ports. The 2 meter radius or diameter docking ports are really quite nice. There we go, turn off all those engines. And yeah, more of a space station. Definitely more of a space station. One thing is missing though, and that is our cruise shuttle. First though, we're going to do some fuel transfer. Remember, we used up all our monopropellant on the advanced probe trying to rendezvous with this craft, and we just managed to get it docked before everything was basically drained. So, using the copious amounts of fuel we've got on board our fuel reserve, hence the name, we can refuel all those tanks. Or at least 3 of them. I think there's actually another 3 just on the opposite side of the advanced probe itself, but, you know, we can do that another time whenever we want to use it. I don't think the probe should stay with the station. It should probably, we might want to, you know, drop it down onto a lower orbit or something. Maybe even drop it into Jool. We could do a Galileo on Jupiter, drop it into the gas clouds and just see what happens. And yeah, so that's all plans for the future though. We'll swap over to our other ship, the crew transfer shuttle, with its very patient astronauts who have been quietly circling for not doing anything themselves for some reason. It's a shame there's no multiplayer. Oh, really, Harvey? Is it now? No, I mean, like, for this particular circumstance, you could all work on Space Station, have your own personal missions, each controlling one of the utilities and stuff. Multiplayer is a very controversial topic in Kerbal Space Program, but I don't think it is necessarily a bad idea just to ponder about it, think how cool it would be for a few moments, but before disregarding it, of course. There are several ideas on how we can implement multiplayer, some of them feasible, some of them less so, but I don't know if the game needs it. I don't know if it would be amazing if it was implemented, but the possibilities are certainly worth thinking about. Anyway, we get our cruise shuttle up, we bounce it around the docking port for a little while before eventually it decides, hey, you know what, I want to dock now. And that is just about to happen. There we go. And that is our space station, in orbit around Jool at roughly 5 million things up. Is it 5 million meters or kilometers? Can't be kilometers, must be 5 million meters. We will refuel that using the tanks, and that's not an awful lot of fuel left, actually, is that? I think we've used up quite a lot of fuel doing that, but it'll be fine, don't worry about it. So there we go, our space station around Jool. In the next episode we're going to work on, I think, a single stage to orbit. I'm not entirely sure though, so don't be disappointed if that doesn't happen immediately, but we shall definitely have a change of scenery. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, then do like the video. Thank you very much for watching again, and I shall see you all next time.